Hello, for this video, I'll go over storage. So in the Google documentation, there are two sets of guides. The set that is shown here is under training, saving data. There's also a guide under API guides, storage options. For this video, I'll go over SharedPreference and the SQLite database. I think those two are the most important. You can also save files, just like you manipulate files in any other operating system. But when you use files directly, you have to format the data yourself. So if you use the SharedPreference or SQLite database, you can use the functions provided by Android to help you format the data. So you don't have to parse the file. Okay. So for SharedPreferences, I'll go over the API. I have a basic example where it looks like this, and SharedPreference is like a dictionary, or you can think of it as a table lookup. So key is like one column of that table, the value is the other column of that table. It's like two. It's like a table with two columns. So I have this basic application where I can read and write to this table that Android calls SharedPreference. And for the SQLite example, I have a simple table. So it's a table of recent US presidents mainly. And it's just a very typical, very simple database example. Usually the name and the ID column. So here's a name column and there's an ID column. It's not necessary to specify the ID in SQLite. They will auto increment a number for you. So that's why the ID column is blank. And a column for country, so I can filter it. So, and this is the GUI for this simple example. There's a checkbox for US, so when this box is checked, I'm only displaying the US presidents. And another column for sorting, so again, very typical database example. So I can sort the year, if I check this box, it's going to sort according to the year in ascending order. If you don't check the boxes, it's going to be in descending order. So this is a basic database example where I can click this button to display all. I use this GUI here in the middle to insert entries into a database. I can delete entries by typing the president's name and delete here. I can search the database using by filtering on the US and by filtering out according to the country and sorting the output. And this displays the name only, so that's the other thing. You might not want the whole table to save memory, right? And I also finally have a GUI for renaming people in this database. Okay, so that's the example I have for the SQLite. That's before I actually code the example, I'll go over the SQLite commands. So just really the most basic SQLite commands. Then I'll go over the Android API for the SQLite. This API has two parts. So the first part is Open Helper. It's a class to help you get a reference to the database. Like it's kind of like the open function that you call when you try to access a file. You call some open function that gets you a file pointer or a reference to a file object. This is similar. So first part is to use Open Helper. On create is where the table gets created. On create is where this table, the columns get created. Not the content, right? The content is created via the GUI. And you get a reference to the database using the get readable database, get writable database. After going over on helper, I'll go over the SQL execution functions, methods. So these two functions, get readable database, get writable database, returns a database object. So the database object has these functions that you can use to access or manipulate the database. The functions are divided into two groups. So one strategy is to manipulate the database using SQL statements. So that's this group on top. SQLite database SQL execution methods. So, and in this strategy, the argument to these functions, the SQL statement plus some minor arguments. There are two versions: the exec SQL, the execute SQL function. This one is going to run an SQL statement that does not return anything. So notice how it's void, the return type. The raw query SQL statements for situations where it returns a cursor. So essentially, the raw query is for select statements. They are going to return results, which is accessible through this cursor. And then you have these SQLite database specialized methods. I call them specialized methods because they don't use SQL statements. Okay, so there's a query function, insert, delete, update. Essentially, the query function corresponds to the raw query function up here. So I usually would choose the raw query function. It's easier to understand because the query function has a lot of arguments. The insert, delete, and update is equivalent to the exec SQL statement here. So I can, execute a delete statement using this function, or I can call the delete function down here. It's equivalent. These two are equivalent. Usually for these situations, I will use insert, delete, and update functions instead of this one, so I don't have to know SQL. Okay, so I don't have to build up the SQL string. So I'll go over database access as I build up this example. Okay, now I'll go over the SharedPreference API and then I'll code this example. So SharedPreference it's like a file object, but Android will do formatting for you. So you get a SharedPreference by calling the SharedPreferences function when you're inside an activity. This is a member of the activity object. Similar to calling open function to get a file, right? Except if you use a file, you have to format the data and parse the data yourself. Whereas SharedPreferences will do that for you. So you call SharedPreferences to get the SharedPreference object. Once you have this object, SharedPreferences object, to read from this object, picture this object as a table with two columns, right? A column called key and then another column called value. To read things from this table, you call the get function, like get string, get integer, whatever. I call it the get xx function. To write to the table, you need to call edit. Okay, you call edit, it's going to return a SharedPreferences editor object. This editor object has the put xx functions, so it's like a put int, put string, whatever. And then you call commit to. It's kind of like calling flush or calling .close on a file, except that Android will format your data for you. So just think of this as a file that stores a table that's only has two columns. Okay, so I'll code this example. So pretty simple API code example. Starting from this video, I won't be coding the GUI because previously I just have a very simple Android application. You see me coding the GUI. That's because those videos are about GUIs. They're about user interfaces. So I don't know where to start, where to stop, right? So I just code the whole GUI from scratch. Starting from this video, I'll just present the GUI. I'll just code it myself, obviously. Somebody has to write this, right? So I'll just code it myself and just present the GUI. Like, right, there you go. That's the GUI. Just go over it very quickly. I only use two styles. A minimum size style, where the width and the height is minimum sized. And the scale size style where the height is, according to the content, the width is 0. With the intention that in the GUI, I'll specify the layout weight. Okay, so the buttons are minimum size. So I have two buttons, the read button, read, and the write button. and then minimum sized. Okay, the width and height is wrap content, and I have two text boxes or edit text. One for key, one for value. So it's like this here. Input type is text, scale sized. The intention is that, I use layout weight to scale the width of these two GUIs. Okay, so they have equal layout weight. So the GUI is basically assigned space for the read and write buttons, and whatever space that gets left over, the space that gets left over is going to be split evenly between the key and the value. Okay, so that's the GUI. Oh, and also I won't be talking about event handlers, because at this point, watch your previous video if you don't know what they are. So I'll just present them there. I have event handlers in it already. So this is the read button event handler. This is the write button event handler. Okay. So I'll go over read. Read first. Read is somewhat easier. Read is just one function. So first you get the shared preference object. Okay. And we're already inside an activity, so it's get shared preferences. Shared. This one. Okay, so name, that's like a file name, so you can say hard code it basically. Okay, and mode, let me just go online for that, because this thing, it doesn't tell, right? Control space, nothing happens, right? So for name, it's like a file name. I just hard coded, but mode is one of these options. You can read through this, but I'll be using mode private. So you click on this mode private thing. It's basically the default mode where the created file can only be accessed by the calling application. So only this hello world application here, only this application can read that file. That's what that option means. The mode private. Then put over this again. Over. Okay, so it returns a shared preferences object. Always have to highlight this like 2 times. So there I get the object, and let me just bring this out here. Because I'll be using this constant down here too. Might as well just copy it. It's the same thing down here. To handle the write event, the first thing you do is going to be getting a reference to the share preference object. So read is next. Get, right? Oh, I'll be using string. So there are different get functions. So I'll be using the string. It's not clear here. The first thing is get. Let's see if I can get it to show up here. Okay, so the first argument is key, and the second argument is the default value. So the default is going to be an empty string. The key is going to be whatever the user put into this box here, the key box. Okay, so it's whatever that's in that text box. Okay, and there. So, and then I'll display the value in the oh, it should be a key, right? Wrong text box. Okay, so I'll display the value in the value box. Okay, so I get the preference object, well, like a preference file, really, it's a file. Then I'll extract the value. I'll look for this, two-column table, right? Column 1 being the key column. So I'll look it up. I'll look up the key and then I'll store it into value string and I'll display it in the value text box. Okay, so this one, as I mentioned before, you have to put in edit mode, right? Now this edit mode returns an editor object. Oh, this time I highlighted only once. The cursor's gone. Oh, there we go. Hey. Oh, didn't copy it. Had to do that again. I'll click on it. Okay, so you call edit to get the editor object. Okay. Then with the editor object, you can call set, right? Or put, and so different put functions. I'll be using strings. So the key is again same thing as up here. The key is from this, the text box, the key et edit text box, and values from the value text box. So same thing, but value et. And call commit. So now I'll run the example, just show you how it works. Oh, it's a breakpoint. So the key is the first column in that lookup table. So call name. Okay, and I'll click on the read, and so it's empty because there's nothing there yet. Okay, read, empty. Okay, I'll type in Lewis. I'll click read, should be empty, right? So Lewis got erased because it's still reading, so there's no such entry. I'm using the empty string right here. I'm using the empty string as my default because the entry doesn't exist in the two-column table. So here I'll click write. So now it should be written into it. I'll erase the Lewis. Okay, now I click read. So it brings up Lewis because it's stored. Okay, so now I'll exit the app using the back button. That exits the keyboard. So I'll go back. What's Hello Android? So here I'll click read. I'll tap on read, and Lewis is read from the file or whatever it is that Android's using to store preferences. Okay. So that concludes the example for the share preference. How to use share preferences. So now I'll go over the SQLite commands. Well, actually, they're just SQL commands. Just the most basic of them. I have an example here typed up already, so I'll just follow along here. SQLite comes in as an executable shell. Okay, first of all, there is, if you run an emulator, you can find some kind of SQLite program on the emulator phone. But on the actual phone, on the actual Android phone, there's no SQLite 3 program. So to practice SQLite 3, you should go to SQLite 3, SQLite website and download this SQLite 3 program. So SQLite homepage, downloads, and a bunch of stuff, but so there's one for Linux, Mac, Windows. I'm using the Windows one, of course. So when you download this program, it has a command line shell for accessing and modifying SQLite databases. So that's this thing here. Okay, so that's how I got this. Download that, get this shell program. Double click, so you get this. Okay. So SQLite data types, most common is the text, of course, and then there's integer. I'm also using, my simple example is only using text and integer. There's also real, floating point, and blob, which is like an array of bytes, binary data. Okay. Once you're in the SQLite shell, the shell commands, they start with a period. So, this one doesn't tell you to use .open. 3.8.3.1. Okay, so I don't have the latest version here, but anyways, it's close enough. So you can use .help, right, for instructions, right? .help to list all the commands. So .help will list all of the commands. .help lists all the commands, and I'm only using open and table. Right. I'm using open and table. So open opens up a database file, and table lists the tables that are in that database. So right now, I just double click on this, right, to start SQLite. There's nothing here. .open mydb db. So that opens up a database file. So you see it here. So a database file has been created. .table to list the tables in that database. There aren't any. I haven't done anything yet. Okay, so that's the first part. Example is to create a new database using the open command using .table. So this is how you create a table in SQL. It's using the create table command. So the first command I'll cover is create table. So table leaders. Notice I just hit enter, a new line comes up. Primary key. Okay, so you keep hitting enter, it just keep prompting for more lines. So you use a semicolon to end it, to end your command. So that ends the command. So .table now, has this table in it called leaders table. It's got all the columns I wanted. I'm doing this example, so these are columns: ID, name, country, and year. They're ID, name, country, and year. So next thing is to insert a value into this table. So that's the insert command I'm using here. So the insert into leaders name, country, year, these are the column names, and these are the values for those columns. 2008 is the year that Obama got elected. It's not value, it's values. So use the up arrow key to fix it. To fix this, let's put semicolon here. Okay. So next SQL statement is the select statement. I'll go over. The select statement, this is a full, well, this is sort of a small scale select statement. This website has all the stuff. Yeah. It's only 5 minutes or less. Select statement is very complicated. So this is where you find the full syntax table. The syntax grammar tree, whatever they call this. Anyways, so really simple select statement, select everything. Everything, start for everything from leaders. So now the table has one entry, you know. So I'm gonna insert more people into it. So the president before Obama. The president before Bush. The president before Clinton. Okay, so now if I select everything, it's going to show me the entry so far. And just to illustrate the filtering, I'll enter one person from China. So when I check the box, it actually filters him out. And I enter someone else to delete, to illustrate the delete. Seven, 8, 9. Oh, where's my select? Okay, so to delete Washington, so the delete statement, that's my delete statement example right here. Delete from okay. And previously, so far, I've been only using select star. The select statement, as I have shown in that big chart. Do I still have it? Oh, I still have it. The select statement has a lot of features. So the most common feature, select, the column name from a certain table where this is your condition. the where clause puts all the conditions here, and then order by something, right? So to show the full select statement, doing it here. So the one I've been using so far from leaders, that shows like all the columns. If I use select name from leaders, that shows only the name column. Name from leaders where country equals US. So that's going to filter out C from China, right? So there's no C here. And the final, the final add-on is to the order by clause. Order by year, ASC for ascending. So that reorders it. Before it was Obama, Bush. Well, this is actually the order I entered them in. It's not, it's ordered by ID probably. So here it's ordered by the year column. So the oldest president is listed on the top. Or the oldest in terms of, not in terms of age, the oldest in terms of when he became president. Oh, this is why I rename it. So the Bush names weren't official names, right? It's a father-son president. So here I'll rename them, give them the official names. Update leaders, set name, Bush W. So the first time I typed in Bush, I just typed in Bush. Okay, where name equals Bush. Okay. Okay, select. So this is the 2000, the year 2000 Bush. Okay, so the year 2000 Bush is now Bush W. Before I just had Bush. Update leader, set name. Oops. Hit enter by mistake. So it doesn't matter. Bush HW. That's the older Bush. And in my example here, I have Bush Senior for a period here. So okay. Okay, so now that's a demonstration of the update command. Changing the name to Bush W and Bush HW to distinguish the two. And last example is actually the way I did these, I just assumed that the name is gonna be right. Or also on the delete example, I just delete where name equals Washington. So whether this actually works or not actually depends on the GUI. Sometimes these names are presented in the list, so the user cannot make a mistake. Okay, the name is always going to be right. But in this case, in my example program, I just have a text box where people put in the name, right? So in this kind of situation, the name could be wrong, like people typo. They typed in the wrong name. So actually, I also need the command where I extract the ID from the leaders, and I delete using that ID. So if I end this step, then I can check to see if people type in the wrong name or not, right? So select ID from leaders where name equals Bush. Okay. So this one is going to be 4, right? Bush HW is ID 4 here. Okay. Now if I type in the wrong name, like that, if I type in the wrong name like that, It's not gonna return me anything. So in the code, in the programming code, I can say you typed in the wrong name. Okay, this is only necessary, of course, if people are allowed to make these mistakes. So if instead of this, it's like a list box or a drop down box. If it's some kind of list box, then they can just choose the right person. That you never have to worry about typing the wrong name. Okay, so that goes over all the commands. You can use start quit, but you can also use .exit. So let me see, .help, right? So .quit exits this program, and here scroll up. So .exit also exits this program. So quit, it's gone. If you double click on it again, .open mydb.db, .table. Oops, I thought I opened the wrong one. mydb.db, not mydb. So okay, so I open my db.db table, have table from before, say everything from this table, right? Leaders. So all the data is there from before, and that's how you use the shell on Windows. Use it to practice the SQL statements. Make sure you have the right SQL statements before you start coding. So that's my next step, is to code this example, and before I actually code that stuff, I need to have the right SQL statements. Okay. So once again, I'm not going to code in the GUI on the video. I'll just go over the GUI briefly. This is a video about SQLite, not a video on GUI. So this is my GUI. Hit this button, display everything. Actually, it sends it to the log window, the logcat window, using the log command. Insert new entries into database, delete entries, display subjected to these filters, and rename precedents. Okay, the only thing new here is that this horizontal bar, this greenish bar. So it's the view tag. Double click this one. It's the view tag, and I put all the tags inside a style called app HR for horizontal rule. That's the HTML tag to generate these things. But okay, so it's a view that stretches across the screen. So width is going to be match parent. Height is the thickness of that border. So this green line's border's thickness is 2 currently. Background is the color, margin top, margin bottom. That's the gap. The gap you see between the green line and the button, and the gap between the green line and this text box down here. So that's the one thing that's not previously mentioned in these videos. Just buttons, boxes. That's it. Oh, there's a checkbox down here. Checkbox. And the code so far, I plan to have a database object called mydb. That's my wrapper object for the database. Currently, there's nothing there. So the bulk of this example is filling in this class, coding this class. How do you access the database? That's the wrapper. Add all these references, these text box and checkbox references to these. And down here I have on create. That's the only thing I have. So bunch of references to text boxes and on create. That other function, the action bar menu thing, I got rid of that. Don't need it. So first, get a reference. So just the find view by ID thing apply to all of these different controls, and then event handler. So display all. This is your select star from leaders. Insert. This is the the insert statement to add new precedents to the table. Delete is to delete George Washington. That's the thing. Display filtered. So because I already have display up here, display all. So this display is this one where display the names of the presidents, but subjected to these filters, and also display only names to save memory, right? You don't necessarily need all the columns. Okay, and this is a rename button. That's at the very bottom. That's the very last thing I'll do in this example. Okay. So like I mentioned before, the API has two parts. One part is to open the database, like to get a reference to a database object via these two guys here. And the next part is to actually access the database. So, okay, first I'll go over open the database. Okay, so this is completely empty. Oh, before I do that, I should create a data structure for the each row in the table. So I want a data structure for like a single row. I'll call that data structure. I'll call that leader. Like this. It's gonna have I'll just call it ID. The name of the column is actually underscore ID. That's why I initially typed that in. Okay. So for the ID, actually, I could have just used, instead of integer, I could have used int. And then the default would be like -1. Okay. The ID actually started at 1, so 0 is also a possible default. But I'm using this so that I'm using the integer class so that I can just use a null. That's the typical convention for a lot of these database data structures. Just use null, like so you don't have to worry about different defaults. Like for example, for year, I mean, -1 or 0 is not gonna work, right? Or it's not obvious. 0 might work. I don't know if there's a year 0 AD or not. Maybe not. But -1 could be the year 1 BC. If you want the leader table, if it were to include some historical figures from 2,000 years ago, then then negative values are completely possible, right? That they represent BC. So in general, for database structures, just use the class and then use null for the default, right? So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about coming up with a default value. Also, I need a printing thing because that's how I'm going to display it, right? I'm going to display it by using the log command that's available in Android. So I'm going to display it like using log I. So something here, right? Oops. Won't let me type in periods. Okay. So that's the intention, to use the log command to type in this stuff. Oh, I know. Like this. Organize Android. It's Android util.log. Okay. So I need a log method to help me print out the content here. Now, not all of these will be valid values, right? They could be null. Okay. So I should detect that. So I'm gonna build it up. So like if ID this equal null. And this other thing I found out is when I'm programming this thing, right? Initially I wanted to use tab, okay. So I'll print ID, and then I'll tab, and then the next column, right? And it turned out that tab doesn't work. At least on my computer, it doesn't work. Okay. What I'm talking about is like over here in the logcat window. Tab over here, doesn't show up as a tab or as a space. It shows up as nothing. It's like so there's no space in between the columns if I use tab. So that's why I'm inserting spaces here instead of a tab. So maybe tab works for you, but not for me. So that's why I had to use spaces. Okay. So same thing, right? Just keep building up the string. Country. Oh, year doesn't need it, but year does need this to turn the integer. Oh wait, it doesn't. It's a class. Yeah, okay. So year doesn't need that thing because it's the final column. Okay. I think that's for now. I think that's it for leader. So that's my data structure for single row. Okay, now I can start doing a database. Okay. So first thing is this open helper thing. If you look at the examples online, I mentioned this. There's some examples here. This is the API guides. Go here. The open helper. Okay. Where's the other one that had the helper? So this guy will have some examples for you, and sometimes they refer to a class as helper. I will stick to the name open helper. Okay. Wait. It doesn't need to be public, right? Let me see. I'll make it private. I'll stick to the open helper name here because this class okay, extends. This open helper class doesn't really do anything. It just helps you get a connection to a database or get a reference to the database object. It's not a general helper. It just helps you open the database. But online, a lot of examples will call it helper. Okay, but just keep in mind that even though you see helper or DB helper here, all this thing does is open a connection to the database. Okay, so when you do this, I already mentioned that to open a connection to the database, you create your own class that derive from this class, and you write the onCreate and onUpgrade options. Okay. But they'll tell you, right? Like, oh, I have to import it. Okay. Okay. Takes the import. Okay. Okay. So they want you to add a constructor. Must define default constructor. Oh, this one looks simpler, right? Actually, I'll make my own constructor. I actually won't be using this. Okay. I'll actually be making my own constructor like this. Okay. And then the name here is the file name. I'm gonna hard code it. What did I use here? Oh, right. Whatever I used over there. Factory. Well, let's go over there. It's gonna be null, but well, I think it's null. So to use for creating cursor objects, or null for the default. Cursor objects. Huh. Oh, it's overlap here. To allow the subclass of cursor. So what they're saying is that when you actually use the database and you use the raw query function, there's a cursor object, and that you can provide a factory class for that. It's like making your own cursor objects, but in this basic example, I'll just use the default cursor object. Okay, and I'll show you how to iterate through the default cursor object. So just be aware that you can make your own cursor objects. Okay, like this cursor object. Okay, but I just use the default one. And version, database can have a version. You can give it a version number. I'll just give it version number 1. The version number matters in the on update function. So okay, add and implemented methods. Oh, anyway, the reason I made this constructor so that the user of this class only provides the context, the file name, the database name, the cursor factory, and the database version. All these things are hard coded. Okay, inside this this wrapper class of mine. So it's like this, right? So in my main activity, I have this wrapper around my database, right? So I have two options here, right? Oh, space. Okay, whatever. Oh, this thing didn't. Okay, space. I'll fix this first, huh? Okay. So I haven't done the constructor yet, that's why. So my constructor will only use the context. Okay, so the idea is that outside of here, okay, the context is going to be this pointer pointing to main activity. So I only supply the main activity, a pointer to main activity. And in here, I'll use this, right? Okay. So the main activity provides the pointer to itself. The main activity goes here. Open helper goes to here. I mean, not there. Goes to this one where the database name and the database version, they're all hard coded. Okay, so that's the objective of making my own constructor here. Okay, so anyways, onCreate is called when the database is first accessed. It's onCreate is not necessarily called when this thing happens, right? That's the constructor. And it's only called once. onCreate basically creates that table. So this command here, this create table command here, that's That's what onCreate does. Okay, so I'll copy it here. So onCreate is running this SQL statement. Okay, string SQL statement. So okay, I just copied the SQL statement from that, that notepad thing that I had when I. That's why you try it out in DOS on Windows command line first. To make sure you have the right SQL statements. The semicolon is only for the shell mode, right? Because if you don't have the semicolon, it just prompt you for the next line. Okay. Okay, so that's the SQL statement to create a new table, which I've tested out back when I ran this example. And to run this statement, here's the database object, right? Here's the statement execute SQL. That's the function, that's the method to run the SQL statement. Right? This one. Okay. I'm gonna put a breakpoint here. This is only gonna happen once. It happens once when Android sees that there's no database, there's no mydb.db, there's no such file inside the application directory. And then it's gonna come here and it's gonna create the database by running this statement, by calling onCreate, and I'll create it by running this statement to create the table, the single table in the database. Okay. So this happens only one time. Okay. It's not happening every time you call this. Actually, even if this is called, this is not going to run. Okay. So I'll show that because I'll put a breakpoint here. I'll show it when I step through it in the debugger. This code only executes when you try to access a database that doesn't exist. Okay, so even this on OpenHelper is not the trigger for this. The triggers, it's gonna be when I click on that button. When I click on this button to display all the information in the database, but the database doesn't exist, that's going to trigger, the onCreate. Okay, so I'll talk about on upgrade. I won't do anything here on upgrade. It's a basic example. Because when you do this constructor, you have this version number thing. So on my very first version of the application, I'll say version 1, right? But later on, if I have an update, so I'll say version 3. And when the user install this new application, so Android is going to try to create a database with version 3. And that's where the on upgrade thing gets triggered, because now I'm trying to create version 3, but Android is going to see that the existing database is version 1. So then this function is going to get called. Old version will be 1, and the new version will be 3, Assuming that before I had 1, and in the new software update I had 3. It's going to trigger this thing with old version, new version. And this is where you upgrade your database by adding more tables, probably. Hopefully not adding more columns, right? Or the simplest thing is, delete everything that used to be there, right? That's why I see in the examples. But I don't think that's practical. Okay. Yeah, before I go on, so this part is done. The open helper, right? The open helper. Okay, the open helper has a constructor. That's the thing I did that Eclipse generated for me when I, when it complains about no constructor and click on the link and this thing. This is the constructor that Eclipse generated for me. This is a constructor I will actually be using where I hard-coded these things. Okay, and my onCreate function where I have this SQL command to create the table, and I don't do anything for onUpgrade. So that's done. Okay, this open helper class is done. Now actually this should be outside so it doesn't get deleted or whatever, because I have to keep referring to this. The reason is that's how I get my database. I call get readable database. Yeah, so I call to get a database object. I call open helper dot get readable database. Okay, so that's how I get my database object. So this thing needs to be outside here, and it's not clear right now, but for error handling, I want to display a message using a toast. So I also need this. The toast function requires a context, right? So I also need a context outside. So even though I don't need it right away, I'll just put it in here. So when I do my error reporting, using toast functions, I have this context available. Okay. Okay. So I cover this. And main activity is creating this right here. Okay, so the first handler, right? Display all. What else do I need? Okay. I'll call it the select function, I guess, like select all. And this function should return like a list, right? So in Java, a list is an array list. The array list is leader, so I should return a list, an array list of leader objects. We do this. What's that thing? This line. Okay. Oh, get the import. Okay. So that's what the wrapper does. Now, how do you do that? Okay, like I mentioned before, there's two sets of functions. So one function is the query function, and the other function is the raw query function. The raw query function is using SQL string. So I'll be using raw query. I'll go over query a little bit. I won't actually use it though. Try to highlight this. Let's type it in. The reason I don't use a query function is it's pretty complicated. You see that, the different variations, but the main thing is that it has a lot of arguments, like this many. Oh, some of them are really long, huh? Like over here. Oh my goodness. How many arguments is that? Well, oh, that's query factory. Okay. But the query function, I'm not using it because it's got all these arguments. That's why. In general, it's easier to just use the raw query. Okay, so first, open helper. You get the database object from the open helper object. Okay. There goes the cursor again. Where's the cursor? There. Oh. So get the database object from the open helper, and you do the raw query. Okay, the arguments, the selection arguments are for the where clause. So in this example, there's no where clause. So there's a select, there's a from, there's no where. So I'll demonstrate that later on. Like this one, select statement for where clause. Yeah, I'll demonstrate that feature from later on. So SQL is that. So this one's gonna be null. What the? Okay. Alright, here. So the SQL is gonna be select star from leaders. And query returns a cursor object. Oh, there we go again. Okay, so get database object, call the raw query function, gets your query, the cursor object. The next thing is to go through the cursor object and then and generate to convert from the cursor object to an array list of leader objects. Now this happens quite often, so I'll just create a new function called parse cursor. Okay, so this function this function goes through a cursor object and then generate a list of array list objects. I mean a list of leader objects. So the return is going to be parse cursor. Okay. This is the conversion function, which happens to every single one of these commands. Every single query command is going to return a cursor object, and it's going to use this to convert to array list. Okay. So this I just want to mention that the strategy here I'll be return null for queries that for empty cursors. Okay, so if there's nothing in the cursor, one option is to return like a list with 0 items in it. In this case, I'll return null. I'll just explicitly say that. Okay, so a cursor, it's like a pointer to a linked list. You can use that pointer to traverse a linked list. Same idea here. Actually, a cursor has a linked list interface and an array interface. I'll just use a linked list interface here. So it's kind of like a linked list. You move to first, move the first element in the list. And what does this do? Well, what's a return? Right, it has a return, right? What's the return? This method will return false if the cursor is empty. Okay. If it's empty, so none, right? Right. If it's false, it returns. If it's empty, it's gonna be false. So it returns true, meaning non-empty. Okay. So I always hate when they word documentation like that, you know, they should just word the documentations like, when is it true? Okay, that's what, you know, like returns a non-empty. Okay. Anyways, so if non-empty, return null, right? If non-empty equals false, that means it's empty, right? So return true, return null. So return null for empty cursors. That's my statement here. Should put a breakpoint here too, just to be sure. Because in the very beginning, right? Because I'm just gonna code this first. So there's no data in the database yet. So that's gonna be the test. Oh, move to first. Okay. And then to advance the cursor, move to first, move to next. Okay. And how do you know how long to do this, right? Oh. You keep moving to the next. Well, let's move to the first. You keep moving to next. How do you know? Well, last. Okay, so there's a is last, and there's also a is after last. Now the way this while statement is set up, it's gonna be is after last, right? Because even if it's the last element, you still go in here to, you know, add cursor to list, to leader list. I only exit the while statement after the cursor has passed the very last one. So even if the cursor is pointing to the last element, I still run this. Okay. So cursor, think of as a pointer that points to each row in the data table, the table that's the result of your query. Oh, don't forget at the very end, you have to close this to make it more efficient. Okay. I'm gonna put the result in a variable that I call leader list. Okay. Okay, so create a list. So far 0 items, and inside of here add the cursor data, add cursor row, I guess, to this. Okay. So each element of the list, I'll create the element of the list. Is that okay here? Yeah, everything here will be null. Okay. Oh, new. So how do you read from the database result, right? Cursor is pointing to the database result. It's the get function, okay? Get, yeah, all these get, okay. So you have get int, and also get string, right? Get string, because my columns are integers and strings. Okay. So let me go for the ID. Okay, int. So there's a column index thing, but it went away. There, column index. Okay, so column index, like this. So you can't. Okay. You can't do something like this, right? I want it from that column. No, you can't do that. You You have to provide an index, and you don't want to hard code that. So you need to detect which column is the ID, like this. My intention is ID. Okay. So before the while loop, before this thing, I actually have to detect this. So ID column, right? Also from the cursor, also you get column index. Okay. This thing maps from the column name. Okay. From column name to a column index for an integer number, and you can use it here. Okay, so that's the game plan for reading from a cursor. Okay, find out which column it's in. You're trying to read the ID column for a particular row. Try to find out what column number that column corresponds to, and then go over here, get int column number. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this a couple more times here. Where's it? What's the other column? Like name, country. What's it? So, yeah. ID, name, country, year. Yeah. So this is the name column. This is country column, and this is the year column. Okay. Now, this is not actually going to be there, right? It might not be there. Okay, it's actually there this time. It depends on the SQL statement. Like, if I have this statement, then all the columns are going to be there. But if I have this statement, then only the name column is going to be there. So, this is actually not going to work, right? You have to detect that if ID column greater than equal 0, then we run this, right? Something like that. Okay. So if the column is not there, the ID is going to take the default value, which is null. Okay. Okay, so duplicate for the next few things, right? If the name column, it's not get int. Okay. Name. So get string. Name column. Country column. Get string from the country column dot country. If the year column's around, get from the year. Not year. Oh, oh, this one's an integer. Okay. Looks about right. Yeah, close return yearless. Okay. Okay, so the main activity is gonna call select all. Run the SQL statement, run the SQL statement here, and use parse cursor to extract data from the cursor object. And this thing basically, goes to the first element in the cursor, goes to the next element in the cursor, move to next, and keep doing the move to next thing until it's beyond the last cursor, beyond the last data element. Okay. So what's it? Select all. Right, array list. I know what that is. I just did that. Leader list, I guess. That should be here. I'm trying to get this control space. Oh, it doesn't work. Should be this, right? Oh, array. What's the name? Arrays cannot. Oh. Okay. Because I didn't import the array list. Hey, now it's there. Okay. So each leader object has that log member to that log method to print out the content to the log window, but I'm adding a function to print out a list of leader objects. Okay. Leader print leader list like that, something like that, like a function to print out the leader object. Now this could be null, right? Remember the convention I'm using in this application is return null for empty cursors. So if there's no data, let's say no entry in the database. Oops. So again, enjoy util. Okay. Oh, I have a return here. So this one I'll iterate over the leader list. This is like the for each statement in C#. It's a Java version of it. Log. I think that's right. Okay, go back. So I got the leader list. Now I want to print leader list. Okay, so I'm now ready to run it. Oh, it's gonna be debug. Oh. So I'm gonna start the debug soon. Let's see where so make sure I have all the breakpoints I want to have. So I'll have a breakpoint here for on create. For breakpoint here for parse cursor. That should be enough. Oh, we'll have a breakpoint here for the constructor too. Okay. I have to rerun it because it just passed it. Okay. So here, there's nothing here on screen yet because it's stopping on the constructor. Okay. I just want to prove that running this constructor. Okay, this is the MyDB. Okay. So what happened so far is we got into on create, and then we get into this thing on creating the MyDB wrapper. And inside the MyDB wrapper, I'm going to execute this. I'm going to create the open helper. So running past it. So notice that this did not get triggered. Okay. So simply constructing this is not sufficient to trigger this. And yeah, this is a brand new install, so there should be no database file in there. Okay. So now I have the GUI. Can scroll around on there. So scroll viewer is okay. I'm gonna hit display all now. Now the moment display all is, display all is gonna end up, okay, display all is here. It's gonna end up calling the select all that I just coded, which runs this SQL statement. The moment that this SQL statement is run, that's when, that's when Android realizes that, oh, I'm trying to run a query on a database file that doesn't exist. That's when onCreate is triggered. And this is the only time this will ever be triggered. Okay, so onCreate is triggered and the table will be created here. So I'll run it. Okay, table is created. Oh, view class. Okay. So the table, after the table is created, then they run they run this SQL statement, right? And there's not going to be anything, so that's why I'm here again. What's the thing? Step over F6. Just make sure I don't want to miss it. Oh. Something bad happened. Okay. Cool, this. So I was trying to show the non-empty flag, I guess. I'll show that, but okay. So I use resume, the things off the screen capture area. So look for the errors. Can't open file for reading. I'll try that again. Okay, so breakpoint here. Display all. It's not like it crashed. So down here, so what I'm doing is I'm using step over. Okay, no, this time it works. See, last time it gave me that, that Windows, like, whatever. Oh, did anything pop out here? Okay, so this is from the first time that I pressed, the display all button. So it did work, no entry in the data table. So the debugger crashed, I guess. So this is the second time. So non-empty is false. That meaning it's empty. It's like double negative, non-empty. It's false. So it went into return the null. So here. But actually what happens is non-empty is false, so it's returning a null. Okay. So I need to I can quit this now. Yeah, no need to step through this. I'm pretty sure the stuff works. Okay. Oh, raise it up there again. Okay. So that's basically all that is currently, because I haven't coded this stuff in yet. So there's no way to populate the database. So let's hit display all and then no entry in the database. So that's all I can show for now. So next step is to code the insert here. Okay, code this button, the insert handler here. And that's the very basic example. Okay. Terminate the session, debugger session. So need to code the input here. Insert here. So insert function, insert a leader. So always open helper. Just copy this here. Oh wait, this is different. It's not get readable. Right, when you're inserting something, you need to get a writable database, right? Get writable database. Dot insert. Okay, before I go on, like I mentioned, there were two versions, the two ways to do the same thing. You can compose the insert. This is the SQL statement for inserting President Obama. So you can build up the string yourself and then call execute SQL in a similar manner to my execute SQL for the table, for the create table thing. Okay. So one way is to use execute SQL with a string, but you have to build up the string. See, so I think it's easier to use. In general, it's easier to use the insert thing here. Okay. So insert, and what do they take? Okay, string content values. Yeah, Eclipse thing is clumsy, so I'll put it here. Insert. Yeah, insert is a member of the SQLite database class. Where's the insert? So some options here. Oh yeah, convenience method for inserting a new row. Convenience method for inserting a row, and this one is also a convenience method for inserting a row. So okay. We're going to use the insert, not the insert or throw one. Okay, so first argument is the table, the table to insert into. So I'll fill that in. First argument is leaders. The second argument, null column hack, it's going to be null. So briefly, what it's saying, okay? The SQL, well, not SQL, SQLite, okay? This database doesn't allow inserting a completely empty row without naming at least one named column. So this thing is basically for inserting a row that's completely empty, okay? A null column hack provides, okay, this thing is the name of the nullable column name. Name of the nullable column name. Okay, so if you're inserting an empty row, you need to look into this and specify the name of the nullable column name. Okay, so I'm not doing any hacks, so this is going to be null. That's the null column hack parameter. And the last one is actually the important one, the values that you're inserting. Okay, so I press Control C here, values. Okay, now how do I get these values, right? New. Well, first you have to bring it in, else it doesn't work. Bring it in. Okay. No. New. Okay, now it has there. Now it works. Okay, values is like a dictionary. You just put. No, is it put or that should be put, right? Values put, right? Put. Yeah, it's either put or set. So again, you have that, all these different versions. So inserting, these are the values I'm inserting. Notice that the ID is left out. Notice that there's a column called ID, because when I create the table, oh wait, not here. When I created the table, I made the ID a primary key, and so the database will automatically assign an integer and then automatically increment that integer. So there's no need to worry about that column, right? So string key, key and value, okay. So key is gonna be leader, it's gonna be the column name basically. So no need to worry about ID. No need to worry about that column, okay, name, okay. And the next column, I'll just put here, easier. Country, I'll put in the country here. And the last one is year, right? Anything else, or yeah, name, country, year, okay. So each leader has a name, a country, and a year. Okay, so I think that's it. Oh, this one. So look at the insert function, look at the return value, the row ID of the newly inserted row. Okay, see here. Okay, the insert function is returning the row ID of the newly inserted row, or -1 if an error occurs. So for error checking purposes, you do want to do this, right? New the row ID, right? And if this new row ID is less than 0, like they mentioned, it's going to be -1 if an error has occurred. So we need to alert ourselves. Toast make text. Okay, so that's where I used the context object I saved previously in the constructor. Okay, right, context is up here. It's for oh, go away. It's for using it with the toast function. What am I gonna say? Oh, hey. Insert error. Duration toast long. Now, in this particular case, it's not gonna have insert error because the primary key is the integer, and I'm not specifying it. I'm just letting this software, generate the primary key, right? So if I set up a constraint saying that, oh, the name has to be unique, SQL lets you do that, right? Set up a constraint on any particular field. There's lots of constraints you can use. So if I set up this constraint saying that the name has to be unique, and I enter a bush, we have two precedent bushes, with two precedent bush, and if I enter bush 2 times, then it's gonna trigger that constraint, and then I'm gonna have an error here. So this is what that's for, okay. But actually, I actually won't trigger it in this case because I don't have a constraint set up for a simple example. So let's insert. So I need to have the handler for insert. So what are the text boxes here? Text boxes are here. Okay. So I need a constructor then. Let me think. So I have a log here. Yeah, maybe it's better to have a constructor here too. Okay. Yeah, I thought a log function is all I need, but okay. Default constructor. Oh. And then I'll have a constructor of strings, I guess. What's it? Country and right, because I don't want to specify the ID. That's why I'm doing constructor. The ID is done by the database. But the ID will be read out because some of those, because I will need the ID like here in this SQL statement. So the ID will be left as null. Oh, right. Right, the name and country is directly copied over, but this year, value, this one, using this one. Okay, so year is require conversion. The year is a string because it's coming from a text box. Okay, so it's going to require conversion into that. Did I make the year integer or? Oh, hey, I had this. Oh well. Double click. Okay. So I had it as a number, so the conversion should always be successful because the keyboard for that particular text box, is set as a number for that edit text. So this conversion should always be successful. But I can't be sure of that really, so you should do a try block here. Okay, so right. Oh, I always have this problem. I always have the problem with this syntax because I prefer it to be like this, right? Which doesn't work. Doesn't work that way. That's the other language. I think it works like this. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Works like this. Yeah, that's how this thing works. Okay. But I'm using a constructor thing I just made. The first one's name, right? So name, country, year. Okay. Name, get text. Country. And year. And the reason that this thing is in a try block is because the year could technically fail, but it should not fail because I had that thing in there. But I think maybe you can enter in a decimal point or something. I don't know. Okay, so it's just being safe here. I'm putting in a try block. Okay, and if I ever fail, oh, it's not this. It should be main activity, right? Got this. Oh. Message. Long. Is this right? Okay. Insert the leader. Okay. So I construct the leader object by reading the various text boxes, edit text. And then I call mydb.insert to trigger it. To trigger the insertion. I have this. This is only for trapping this. It doesn't trap the error here. Okay, the error there is gonna be trapped by the return value that the row ID thing here. Okay, so I'll run it now. So I'm gonna hit display all. So here, no entry in the database, so I enter some names. So now I'll hit insert. That's the key. Okay, so what happened was I hit the display all and nothing comes up. So I was stepping through it and I realized that yeah, I set all the parameters all right. I just didn't add the leader to the text to the list. Okay, so I made a new leader object. You know, I set all the parameters here, but what I'm missing is that I'm missing this. Okay, so I'm missing that. Oh, terminate. So I'm missing this line. So I was wondering why nothing's showing up. Okay, so I'll run it again. So I just added this line that I left out before. So I actually added Obama 2 times. Okay, so now when I hit display all, I have two rows, same data, but that's okay. Later on, I'll code the interface. I'll code that thing where I can delete people. And next, I'll enter in the rest of them, but I'll put the recording to pause. Oh, I do want to point out that that the try block to trap the integer error is good because it's possible to type in a integer. Oh no, it's not. So apparently this stuff is only here. Yeah. So apparently these buttons are here, but the space button, the decimal button, these are here, but they don't actually do anything. Okay. So what's Clinton? 92? Okay, so I insert all of them, and now I do the display all thing. Okay, I'm gonna clear this list here, display all. So yeah, Obama's listed 2 times, but the rest of them are okay. Okay, so that's the first part of this example. So far I have coded this button and this button. So that's the first part of the example, to insert things and to display it, to know that the database mechanism is working. Okay, now I'll code in the delete button, the display button, the second display button, the first one being up this one, and rename. So for delete, the command I used when I did my example is this one using the name directly, but for error checking purposes, I'm gonna check if the name is correct by using this. Okay. So this is for internal use. No need to expose it as public. So select ID from name. Oh, selecting ID from name, then the return value will be int, right? Okay, so first I'll check the ID. Okay, and then next I'm going to delete, right? So these are the two functions. Okay, and outside I'm just gonna say mydb.delete. Where is it? Which one is this? So this one, name to delete. This is the name of the control. Okay. What? Yeah, I got okay, now this is okay. Because I didn't have void here. So before there was an error here. Okay. So I'll take care of this first. This is a lot like the select thing. So see if I can copy code from that one. Select all. The difference is select ID, where name equals stat. Now this is why I get to use that parameter that I left as null over here, right? Now instead of hard coding in the name here, I can put in a question mark here. Okay, so this thing, okay. I put a question mark here, and then I put the name here. So what this parameter does, what do they call it? They call it the selection args, the selection arguments. So what that thing does is that it takes this thing and puts it, where this question mark is, basically. Okay, so you don't have to use the string builder to build up, the string. A string builder will also work though. Okay, and I'll use that. I'll have to use that in another place later in this example. Okay, so this thing is to help you build up the SQL string. You can use question marks and then and then specify the parameters, the arguments here. Okay. And this one, I'm not really returning. I want to return the ID. That's what I'm doing here. So convert the cursor into a list. I'm just looking for the ID, if no. So if if the cursor has no data in it, this is going to be null. As previously mentioned, when I code this function, return -1. I'll just make a note here. Return -1 for existing name. So this is why it's going to return -1, because if the name doesn't exist, then the cursor is going to be empty. Cursor is going to be empty, so then this list is going to be null. Okay. I'm going to return the very first element. Okay, so this one, leader list.get 0 is going to be the first element in the list. And .id is going to return the ID of the first matching leader. So remember there were 2 Obamas because I made a mistake. Is it still here? Okay, it's still here. So the 2 Obamas. So the ID, if I type in Obama, the ID that will be returned will be 1. Okay, it's going to return the first leader object in the list. So, okay. Actually, the ID is an integer. Technically, right? I should use int value. But probably works either way. Okay, ID equals select ID from name. Use the name. If ID less than 0, I need to do some kind of error reporting that you typed in the wrong name basically. The leader. The leader of the given name cannot be found. Okay, the leader, quote, name cannot be found. Okay, duration is long. Okay, so that's what happens. That's my error checking feature. If the name can't be found, inform the user. It's a lot like this, but again, because we're deleting, we're modifying the database. So this should be get writable database. Okay. And as before, you can generate your own delete statement. Oh, where's delete? There. You can compose your own SQL statement and then use execute SQL, or you can use the delete function. So I'm going to use the delete function here. Table is leaders. The where clause is at. Okay. In the example that I ran, I use Washington. I use the name directly. Name equals to something directly. I'm going to be using the ID because that's the whole point here. I check to see if the ID exists. If the ID exists, I'll use it. And this is a where arguments here. So once again, this is so you don't have to build up to make it easier for you to building up the string. You just specify ID equal question mark, and then over here it'll just push it in for you, or you can just put it in there too directly. Either way. So So I think that's it. Something else. No, delete this, yeah. Okay, so I'll now run it. Try to delete that extra Obama there. Oh boy. So I'm gonna hit display all. So it comes up this stuff. So I'll put in some random name. I'll hit delete. And you know, the leader duty cannot be found. So that's the error checking, capturing me putting in the wrong name. So I'm trying to delete the extra Obama here. Delete. Okay. So no error message here. So I'll clear this. I'll tap display all. Okay, I tapped display all, and so the very first Obama got removed. So okay, so that shows the delete code. The delete stuff that I just wrote is working correctly. So the next is this thing here. So again, like before, it's gonna return, you know, a list of leaders. So it's a lot like before, but this time it's I'm running this SQL statement, so it's only displaying the name. So that's why it's select name, country. Oh. Order by year. Okay. So running this one here. Now this thing might or might not be there. Okay. Like if you should pass in a null, then I'm not gonna use a filter. I'm not gonna filter by country at all. I'll just print all the countries. Okay, so this one I'm gonna be using a string builder to build up this SQL statement. Oh, class string builder, I guess. Oh, the first one, this one's constant, right? And this is constant too. So that's constant. Now, this next one, where country goes US, let me copy that. Copy. So if country is not null, so append this thing where country have do this thing here. Okay. Oh, and it's not US. Oops. You need the quotation marks. Okay. Okay. Previously, when I did the where clause using this method, question mark thing, and I don't need quotation marks if I'm using this approach, but here I'm building up my own string. Okay, I'm doing it all myself. So that's because, previously I don't have a quotation mark here. I'm not saying quote ID quote. I didn't have that here because Android's doing it for me. So here I need to have this. Okay. And here's the end quote. Okay. So where country equals country plus this. Space, because there's more stuff afterward, right? Okay, so if order by year. So if I'm saying order by year, if I'm saying ascending order, use this. Use this. Else, well, what's the other one, right? What's the other one? SQL. Okay, so one is ASC, the other one is DESC. So DESC. Okay. Okay, and the rest is just like before. That insert the select all thing. Like this thing. Copy. The only difference is the SQL statement here. Okay. So I'll build up the SQL statement SB to string to put it in here. This block is the same as before for the select all function. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I go back here and I'll call that, trigger that from the event handler, my db dot select names. So what's a country? How come the other one's displayed? I have it private, right? Make sure I have it private. Select all is public, insert is public, delete is public. Oh, yeah. Okay, there. Select ID from name as for internal use only. Okay. Okay, so it's the select ID from that one's hidden, correctly hidden. Country is coming from the country box, right? Okay. Oh wait, no, it's not. Got all wrong. Okay, too late at night here. Country is from this thing. Okay. Wait. Double click. Okay, country is from this thing. This checkbox thing, okay? So country, okay. Okay, if that checkbox country, then it will be US. Right, if that box is checked, country is the US, else country is a null, which causes all the countries to show up on the output. Okay. Same thing about this thing, it's another checkbox here. False. So this box, double click this box, okay. If it's checked, if the ascending order checkbox is true, then that argument is going to be true, okay. And it's like before, the select thing is a return list. Okay, and then we call the print function, the helper function print here, to print all the leaders to the log window. Okay, so now I'm ready to run it again. Do it. So I'll hit display. Oh, okay, here. So this time around, only the names are displayed, and everybody gets displayed. I'll check the box, display again. Now this time it's going to be in order. This is Bush Senior actually. So I'll have to do the renaming thing to fix that error later on. Now I'll clear this. If I hit US, then Mr. C won't be displayed because he's not from the US. So only the US presidents are displayed. Okay, so this basically shows that the coding for the display button, the select from name, the select name, right? The function that I just wrote works. Yeah, the select name function works. So the last thing to code is the rename. Rename is a lot like delete. So rename is the update SQL command. Here I'm using name and name, but again, to prevent the user from typing in the wrong person, I need to use this thing to look up the ID first. Okay, to be sure that user is typing in the right name. Okay. So otherwise, it's a lot like this. So I'm gonna copy this code and use that as a template. Which I call a rename. What's that called? Old name, new name. Oh, void. Okay. And like I said, I copied the code, so yeah, I only have to check the old name, of course. The leader name cannot be old name. Old name cannot be found. Okay. The update. So update tables is that leader thing. Values is that content value thing again. Okay. So where clause, I'm using the ID thing, right? So it's that ID equal thing, and this is where I put the. Well, actually, let me try something different then, because last time that's what I did, right? I did it this way last time, so let me do it the other way. ID, and let me build up the string myself, and then this will be null. So in contrast to before, before I had this technique, question mark, and let Android put this inside of this. So this time I'm gonna build it up myself. So I'll build it up myself and using this. Okay. Oh, the content values. I'm renaming, so this is very similar to the insert example. So over here, like when I'm inserting, I'm putting name, country, and year. I'm just renaming, so I'm just updating the name. So the key is going to be the name, and the old name coming from this text box. So if there's an old name ET, it's going to be a new name ET. And again, the ID is going to be the first one found. So currently I have two bush, and I need to use the display all to see which bush I'm modifying. Okay, so I think now it's ready. I'll just run it. So display all. So the first bush is the year 2000 bush. Okay, so old name. First I'm gonna put in some junk here. So the year 2000 bush is bush W. So I'm gonna hit rename. So yeah, the leader right cannot be found. So I have the wrong spelling here. Okay, now I hit rename. It seems to have crashed. Oh no. Okay, I have to look at this again. Yeah, I think it's this one. I'm actually not sure. So what I did is before I inserted quotation marks, but I think quotation marks is for strings only. So yeah, I do think like this kind of thing, country equals something, does require quotation mark. But this is a number, so maybe no quotation marks. So I changed it to this. Okay, so before I had this thing here, so got rid of the quotation mark. I'll try that again. Yeah, actually, there's one more problem. Before I had this, I had it like this, but actually it's underscore ID. That's the column name. The column name has an underscore in it, so it's Okay, so this is gonna work. Okay, because I just did it down here. Clear. I'll rename the other bush as well. I'll just show that. Okay. I'm gonna hit display all. It's gonna have bush. So I'm renaming this bush to the HW. So I hit rename, display all. So this is our HW bush now. And that's it for the database example. So I've shown how to use select statement, the insert statement, the delete statement, a more complex select statement down here, and the update statement here. And that concludes the this video about SQLite.